right, we're back and we're diving into part two of this little mini series on cutting and bulking. And today we're talking about bulking. So I think we've all seen the guys who go a little bit off the rails with their bulk. So we're breaking down how to avoid that, how to do it the right way.
Yes, we want to make sure everyone understands how to bulk correctly and how not to be fearful of the word bulking. And we'll use another term that we think is a little more friendly as well to those that are like, I don't want to be some gigantic dude, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So what's going on with you, Mackenzie? Anything exciting?
Nothing super. Well, okay, actually, that's a lie. One, we just announced the scholarship winner, which has been so exciting. I got to talk with him and get him up and running, and then talking with a bunch of partial scholarship people. So that is super exciting. I love being able to offer that and just connect with everyone. So that's been fun. And then I'm back to running again. You'll be happy to know.
Gosh, I pulled you back in.
Well, it's my coach now. I can blame it on him. It's not me.
All right. So what's the reasoning? Why does he want you to start running?
I don't know. That's a good question. So honestly, like I feel even hesitant saying this, but like it's only been like a couple weeks, so I'm gonna give it some more time. But I think that if anything, whenever I hire a coach, I feel like it really highlights how good of a job we do at Unbreakable. Just because you get to see how everyone else operates, and I'm paying a lot of money for this. Like I was very nervous and hesitant, so like automatically like I have the standard that we have, and then I'm expecting like a very high standard of stuff, and it has not at all been that, which is a little disappointing. But again, I'm gonna give it some time. We're gonna see how it shakes out, but like just there just hasn't been the communication. I was like, I don't even know why I'm doing what I'm doing, which is why I want to do too, to learn more. So that part's a little bit frustrating, but at least at the very least, it gives me a lot of confidence because I feel like for me, I'm always like, oh, like what can we do more for our clients? Like it's not good enough. Like we need more structure. But now seeing other like how other companies operate and stuff like that, it is just reassuring knowing it's like we do a damn good job, and I'm very proud of like the level that we have, the structure we have, the process that we have. So at least there's that.
Yeah, just kind of a side note. I mean, to promote ourselves, promote just really good trainers in general. You can go, everyone knows you can go and find some random workout, some random program anywhere you want nowadays, right? And so it's not just providing here's your workout, here's what you need to do. It goes way deeper than that. We develop these bonds, develop these relationships, we know the communication, but we're basically there to support them in all aspects of their life. And that's where the value is. And that's where I really enjoy. I don't, my favorite part is not, hey, here's a workout you want to do. My
Hmm.
favorite part is to see watching them build their confidence and watch them building their relationships with their family and feeling better about life and having more energy and just all these other things that come from it and be able to share that with them and watch them through their journey. And that is where it's just really exciting for me.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. I think that piece is so important. And that also just contributes and makes the fitness journey that much more enjoyable too, because it isn't just workouts or nutrition plans. Like it's everything. It's tying it together. It's a natural part of your life, and there's a lot of other things that go into that too.
Yes, I'm getting excited just thinking about like my clients and all the awesome things that they've been through and I mean I'm honored to be able to share that with them, be able to
Mhm.
experience that with them and it's just so cool when they're more joyful and happier and they're just seeing all these amazing things in their life get better and better. So I don't know, that's super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with our topic today of bulks, I know you've gone through a few structured cutting phases in your journey. What's your experience like with bulking?
Yeah, so I don't have a lot of experience with bulking, to be honest with you. So when I do, I have bulked up some. It's usually like 5, 10 pounds tops. I think part of it is just on the back of my mind. I've always rather been like surfer shredded than monster jack type of thing, and that's always kind of been my goal. And so I never really, I never was, I never really am like a big like PR chaser. I'm not the biggest guy in general, and so I've never really wanted to be like that big monster in the gym like some of these guys that I know, and they just get really huge and stuff like that. But there have been times where I've wanted to gain some muscle and just feel a little bit bigger, and or for performance reasons, things like that. And so I have some experience in terms of just the basics of, hey, I want to gain some weight, or I want to get a little bit stronger and build some muscle and kind of get like 5, 10 pound type of thing. But I've never been like to extreme where I've been able to compete or anything like that.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. And kind of like I was saying in the last episodes, like I spent most of my life bulking, but like the wrong way, in a way that was not enjoyable. But I think a lot of people too, kind of like you were alluding to earlier, it can be tough mentally to go into a bulking phase, especially when people's goal is fat loss or weight loss. And or if they're used to being in a deficit or eating so little most of their life and just like trying to lose weight, it can be very challenging mentally to go into a different mindset. It's like, hey, we're actually going to build up.
Yeah, and one of the things, one of the terms that have come out lately, I don't know when this was kind of first brought out, but we call it, refer to it as reverse dieting, right? And basically, and I really like saying that better than bulking, to be honest with you, because that's it's a more friendly term. I think if you told anyone, a lot of times people assume it's just females, but there's a lot of males too that if you say, hey, you want to bulk up, they're like, ooh, no, I don't want to get any weight. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that again, it's that scale, it's the thought of gaining fat, and that's not what bulking is, not what
Yeah.
reverse dieting is. And so I think that's we want to make sure that everyone really understands what bulking really is and what and why we use the kind of the term reverse dieting instead of bulking a lot.
Yeah, like this is something that everyone will need to go through. Like it's not one of those things where it's like, oh no, like I don't need to bulk. I'm good. It's like no, like this is a natural part of the training process, and assuming that you want to grow and see improvement in some area in your fitness journey. And that's also why like it's a structured part of our program too. Kind of like I was mentioning on the last one, it's like we have that rebuild phase, and then when we're starting to see these results, is like we cycle through this reverse diet and then like the fat loss phase. We cycle through both of them to then eventually get to whatever end goal that they want, or just continue growing and building. So like it is something that you did go through, and I am definitely a fan of like the reverse diet like approach as well.
I just think mentally it sounds and feels better.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so like what bulking or reverse dieting actually means is it's a muscle building phase. So you're eating in a small calorie surplus enough to give your body the energy and the nutrients it needs to build new muscle tissue.
What it's not is just gaining weight and eating just like a ridiculous amount of calories, going and having McDonald's and Burger King and everything, whatever you want. It's about building muscle and being very intentional about building muscle. You're taking a lot of protein, we're building a lot of muscle, and we're still eating well. The goal is not to put on a lot of fat, but muscle weighs more than fat, so you will gain some weight. But the idea is we're going to build that muscle, and we're going to just really set a really good foundation to where then you can decide, hey, I really like where I am, and we can maintain, or I've built up my calorie intake to a really good level. I'm not gaining a whole lot of fat. I look really good, and now I want to lean down some and even, make those muscles pop more and show more definition.
Yeah. I've even had like a lot of clients who like start a bulking phase or a reverse diet phase and actually get leaner because of like the muscle that they're building and how their body's responding to that. So it's like we want to get to that sweet spot where it's like primarily muscle. Like you said, you're still eating well, but not putting on a ton of fat. And I think where this can also get a bad rap is like you see all those bodybuilders who like go through their dirty bulk and they're just like eating everything inside, eating like 10,000 calories. I see these people on YouTube that literally do like this every day, just like full day of eating on my bulk. And it's like literally 10,000 calories or like 8,000 calories. They're just like eating like whatever bullshit they can find. It's like, that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah, you mentioned that word, the dirty bulk. That was a term given to someone who is just eating a ridiculous amount of calories. They don't even care what it is, just to gain weight. And
Mhm.
a lot of times you're going to gain weight, but a lot of times what comes with it is a lot of extra fat. And for
Yeah.
most people, that's not really where you want to be.
Yeah. So bulking is where you actually build the physique, the shape, the muscle, the definition that you want to show off later. And you should bulk when you've spent time maintaining or cutting, or your body fat is in a healthy range, your training is consistent, and you just want to really focus on muscle and performance.
Yeah, we mentioned last episode that bulking is just a great way to start that foundation, right? To really build that muscle, you've got to get a lot of protein in to be able to build that muscle, and then we can transition to your cut. And I think what or I should say, the mistake that most people make here is being scared to eat more. They think bulking is going to make you fat. It doesn't if you do it the right way, right? A good bulk, like you said earlier, is a small controlled surplus. Usually 200, 300 calories, similar to the bulking the reverse way, above maintenance. So it's enough to drive muscular growth without adding that excess fat.
And again, slow and steady, kind of same thing like we talked about with the cutting. And Honestly, like a bulk should last longer than your cuts. Like 4 to 8 months is generally like a normal range for that because muscle takes a lot of time. You cannot rush that. And again, that's why we don't want to go into a dirty bulk and just eat everything in sight and just put on a shit ton of fat in that time period. It's like very slow, methodically, focusing on the strength, the muscle, the performance, and everything in the gym. And that's also where that mindset comes in because the scale will go up, and that is perfectly okay. It's supposed to. You're not necessarily getting fat, you're fueling that growth. And then when you go and cut again later, then all that new muscle makes you look leaner, more defined, kind of like you were saying. You actually look bigger than when you go through that phase.
And if you do it right, you might gain a little bit of body fat percentage, a little bit of weight, which is okay. But you're still going to feel really good, and it's still going to be a lot leaner than most people are in general. Anyway, so and you want to do it as slow, like you said, slow and controlled. You do it too fast, we're likely adding too much fat to our other than muscle, right? So how can we transition to this bulking phase, right? So I think a lot of people just kind of overlook this part. You can't just jump straight. And you mentioned this during the last episode, straight from a deep deficit into like a huge surplus, right? That's how people rebound and they gain fat. That was like a tongue twister. That's how people rebound, gain fat quickly. I was going to say fast, but then I was like, I can't say that. They gain fat quickly. And I think, that's even if you just kind of look at a lot of people, what they do is they'll do that, right? They'll lose some weight in general, however they did that. And then all of a sudden they go into a surplus and they're back at, they gain more weight than they start off. And then they kind of go through that yo-yo dieting, and we want to stay far away from that. So the smartest move is just to spend a few weeks at maintenance, right? Make sure you're feeling really good after that. Slowly bring calories back up, like we said, slowly and gradually to a baseline before adding the surplus, and let your metabolism, let your hormones and digestion stabilize. I think that's a really good thing to mention, is that one of the things about cutting is, or in general, our body adapts really well to everything, right? And so if we get into a long cut, what happens is our metabolism is eventually going to slow down, and we need to move it to a better place. We want to be able to take in more calories, build up the metabolism again, and then we can get back to cutting down the road if we want to. But it does take time, and definitely improve when we go back to that bulk and digestion stabilize, like we said. So basically, we're talking about like 150, 200 calories per week after the cut, per day, per week, until you hit that maintenance, right? So then if we're transitioning into a bulk, then we can add a little more surplus from there.
Yeah. And the thing to focus on in a bulk or reverse diet is we again not focusing on the scale. Like this is the time, like I always preach this to clients, like we are focusing on all the other metrics, especially strength and performance in the gym. That's going to be the biggest ones. Like your lifts are going to go up a crazy amount, which is really fun. Like we get to push, we get to hit a lot of PRs, we get to see a lot of those muscle gains. So it's like that's one of the main things that we're looking at. And also energy. It's like energy should be through the roof. Sleep should be getting better. Again, hormones are stabilizing. Like, it should be a lot better mood. So it's like there's a lot of amazing things that come from this process. Like those are things you need to focus on as opposed to just the number on the scale.
Yeah, you're probably actually going to feel better during the reverse dieting phase, during the bulk, than you are in the cutting phase.
Oh yeah.
Like we're building more muscle. You're probably going to see more PRs in the gym. You're pretty excited about that. Your energy is probably going to be a little bit better. That the hormonal issue is probably going to balance out a little bit more. People that are in the cut for a long time have a lot of hormone issues. They have a lot of digestion. I know a lot of females, if they're in a cut for a long time, sometimes they'll lose their period, and they have a lot of issues with that. And so a lot of times once they get back into their reverse diet out of that, they start seeing the period again. They start seeing their hormones adjust, and they feel better too.
Yeah, I feel like bodybuilders are like the classic example we can look at on both of these ends, like the cut and the bulk, or it's like that's the extreme on like what we want to avoid because like what they do, like it's a sport. Keep in mind, like it is not healthy the way they approach life with the dirty bulks and then also with the extreme cutting. Like they're in like very hard deficits, and like you said, girls are losing their cycle, like messing up. Like I know so many women who've gone through that and like one like their hormones never get back to the level that they need to be, or it's like it's been a grind getting back to that point, and also just their relationship with food like it's not the same. Like they go through a lot of binging and just like there's so many things that come with that. So that's why we say slow, controlled. And I don't say this to scare anyone. Like that's a very extreme end that like most people are never going to get to. But I feel like that's a good example on like what happens like when we go to those extremes.
It's like almost everything we've talked about. Like we're trying to find a really good balance. And like we said, everyone's different. So we got to find a good balance for you. But if you are to one extreme or the other, whatever we're talking about, you've gone too far, and we got to kind of readjust and get back down to a little more balance.
Yeah, so how to know what phase you should be in to figure it out. Like if you've been dieting for months, if calories are super low, if energy is lower, if scale hasn't moved, like that's when it's probably time to go and build. If you're happy with your body composition, if your energy's solid, if you kind of want a mental break, then also maintenance could be solid as well. But yeah, generally, again, like we go through those cycles. So it's like you go through that cut, and then once you get to that point where your calories are too low, you don't want to go any lower, or you're just like, hey, I need a little bit of a break. That's when we go back up to maintenance, and then from there can go into a surplus.
Yeah, and again, it depends on your goals. If you are trying to get bigger and stronger, it's a great time to go into a bulk. We talked about in the cutting episode, Christmas, holidays are probably not the best time to be in a cut. Pretty good time to go into a bulk. And
Mhm.
again, we're not talking about just eat everything out there, but you're going to take in more calories. So now that is a great time mentally, physically, you're going to wear a lot of jackets, a lot of heavy clothes. So it's not like you're going to have a shirt off much, things like that. So mentally, you're going to feel better about it. So there are times in the year, uh, and then in your life in general, but times of the year that are probably better times than others to do the bulking or the reverse dieting.
Yeah, I feel like in general, everyone's like winter is like bulking season. One because like you're cold, you're bundled up, and then yeah, holidays is a great way to fuel the gains, fuel the bulk, and then summer's usually when people want to like be at the pool or at the beach with their shirt off. So that's when they're like prepping and cutting going into summer.
Yeah, it makes sense. But again, we want to do it the right way because you don't want to have to go into cutting season or like it starts getting warm. You're like, oh my gosh, like look how much fat I've put on. And that makes it much more difficult.
Hmm.
All right, so let's talk about mistakes that people make in a bulking phase. Sometimes they try to do both at once, right? And I've tried that. It's very difficult to be like, all right, I want to hit some PRs. I want to get a little bigger, but also want to be as ripped up as possible. It's just really hard to do everything at once, right? Almost anything in life, right? So you really kind of have to have a clear direction on what I want to do and why I want to do it, right? Again,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
like I'll say, it is possible. Like we definitely have clients who are in that like perfect sweet spot where they're losing fat, gaining muscle, but like it's not something that we're gonna be in like super long term. Then also like you're gonna get so much better results if you just like commit, go all in on one thing and then transition to the other. So it's like we don't want to be like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So it's like go all in, really go and build and then really go and cut. And like that's what's gonna see like the most efficient, effective results.
Yeah, you can still have a good body fat percentage and still look lean. We're not saying this is a bulking as we're trying to gain as much fat or anything like that. You can still look lean and you'll probably look leaner than most of the people out there. You just won't be as lean as you could possibly be, and you're just not going to be as shredded or sculpted or whatever you want to call it. The body fat percentage will be a little bit higher, but it's going to be a really healthy, and you're still going to look really good. All right. Again, talking about, sticking with it. A lot of times people will try to get into reverse diet and they're like, you know what? It's just not working out. It's been like 2 weeks. I'm out. Gotta give it time. You've got to give everything time. Opposite of the cutting, panicking when the scale goes way too up. You're like, it's going in. A lot of times you're building sometimes that's a good sign. You're building the muscle. Muscle weighs more. If you're trying to pack on muscle, you're going to gain some weight. And so you have to be able to look at the scale and go, okay, I'm getting bigger, I'm getting stronger. I'm eating really well. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to. So it's not fat. The body fat percentage is not increasing very much. I'm looking really good, but the scale probably will go up. And then talk about the mental side of bulking, right? Sometimes, even if you can guarantee someone, hey, look, I'm showing you this is muscle, it's still that number, And again, it's not just a female thing. Males, we do that too. We kind of have an idea of where we should be, and if it's too much over that, then we start panicking and think, I'm not doing this the right way. And we go back to not staying in the phase long. We kind of abandon it and we try to change something up. In reality, we were almost there, getting to that sweet spot.
Yeah, that mental side, it can be so tough. Like what you're saying, when you've been trying to lose weight your whole life, when you've been in a deficit for so long, it can be very tough mentally to go into a different season. But I think that's also where that foundational period, like where you build the foundation, the habits, the consistency, everything is so important because that ensures it's like you've built the new identity, you've built the new habits, You build a new relationship with yourself, your food, and everything. So that way, you aren't going back. Because a lot of people, I think they're worried. It's like, oh, if I gain weight, then like it's just repeating that normal cycle. It's like, because they've gone in that cycle, losing weight, gaining weight for so long, but it's through unsustainable approaches and they haven't had the right plan. But it's like when you do it the right way, when you have the foundation, you're very confident in knowing it's like, hey, like I'm a new person. Like I have this new identity and like I know that I'm going to be able to go and then cut back down. And again, it's not like we're putting on a ton of fat either, but like you have a different approach or a different mindset going into that, knowing that it's like you have the foundation solidified and you're approaching things very differently.
And again, we totally get it. I do the same thing. I look at it and go, oh, wait a minute. But like you said, you have a different mindset, you have a different approach. You take a step back and say, okay, what's actually happening here? What's my goal? What am I expecting out of this? And you know what to expect. You know what it's going to look like. And say, okay, this is just part of the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I go through it too. Like we all go through that. Even recently, like I'll share, like my body's just not in the place I'm like super content with. And I know I need to eat more because I have been eating. I'm doing a shit ton of activity. My body's not recovering, so I need to eat more. And like even mention, oh, but I don't want to eat more because I don't like necessarily how I look. It's just like it's such a tough battle. But knowing the end goal, like knowing why you're doing it, and like like what's important, and focusing on the energy, focusing on those other things, really helps get through that. And I think that's what helps a lot of our clients too.
Yeah, I agree.
So basically, how to fix these mistakes is kind of very similar to the cutting. Is like we want to pick a main focus, really commit to that a few months, especially more when it comes to bulking. Is like it is going to be a longer process. Go very slow, methodically, and track more than just your weight. Like we were saying, really look at your strength. That is the thing that we want to go all in as. Just like really push those PRs, really push the numbers in the gym, lock in on that. Photos as well. And then energy is a big one, and just how your clothes are fitting, stuff like that too. And then again, it can kind of implement little maintenance phases too, where you just like drop down a little bit. And just if you're one, if kind of like I was mentioning in the last episode, like if you're just tired of eating so much, if you get to like the later phases of reverse diet, that's part of the fun. Like I think a lot of people enjoy that too when they get to like eat a ton of food. It is enjoyable, but sometimes it can be a little bit tiring. So like sometimes mentally, we just want to pull back and like go back into maintenance for a little bit. So implement those types of resets. And then again, just like very slow. We want to be patient in this process.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is to not focus on the scale, not focus on the weight, not focus on the number or anything like that, even body fat percentage, but have a focus of my intention each day is to get really strong. I'll set some PRs for yourself. I want to get to this point, and that's the focus when you get in the gym, and celebrate those when you get there. If you're doing that and you're eating the way you're supposed to, you'll start gaining the weight, the good weight. You're going to gain a lot of muscle and you're going to feel really good about it. And you're going to get a lot of confidence from that as well. Being able to accomplish all those PRs that you're hitting, you might want to stay in that phase longer because you're like, I'm getting really strong, and you're challenging yourself. You're like, I want to go up a little more, keep pushing. So that's a lot of fun as well.
It really is. Yeah, I think that's one of the best parts of it. And I think that's what our clients fell in love with too. It's always fun when like I there's one client, David in particular, that comes to mind. He like initially came to us like wanting to lose weight, and then like we got to his goal weight, he's like, wait, but like I want to like push and I want to grow and I want to build. And so then we went into like a reverse diet, like a building phase, and then he got to that point, he's like, yo, I feel jacked, I feel good, like I want to lean out a little bit. So then like naturally he's wanted to cycle through these phases, and like each time it becomes more and more fun because like you have more of that foundation, you have more of the knowledge, the base, and like you're hitting these higher numbers, you're seeing more of the results. So it is really fun being able to cycle through those.
That makes the journey more exciting as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we kind of wrap it up here, I want to ask you, whenever you were in a bulk phase, did you ever have an issue or reverse dieting, like feeling like you couldn't eat enough or like how to eat more?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So tell us some tips. Like, what are some of the things that you've done that worked really well?
Yeah. It can be tough, like I said, when you're in the later half of a reverse diet and you have to eat a lot of calories. At one point, I was having to eat like 3,000 calories just to maintain. And that, again, I did this the wrong way. So it's like, it shouldn't have been all that difficult. But yeah, it can be tough. So like a lot of times people will turn to a lot of the junk food, and like sometimes it can have a place, like some of like slightly more unhealthy things just to get in higher calories. But I think this is where you can utilize like a lot of olive oil. Shakes is a good one. It's like load a bunch of like put in some peanut butter, put in some oats, put in some protein powder, some Greek yogurt, everything. Like put in a shake. It's a lot easier to consume without feeling super full. And just like lower volume stuff. Typically, when we're cutting, we want like a lot of high volume stuff, like a lot of extra veggies and potatoes and all that. And like that stuff is great, but it's like for me at least, like rice is very easy to get down. Like I can eat a lot of it. I don't feel super full. It doesn't mess up my digestion. So it's like finding those foods that like you can eat a good amount of that don't like cause you to feel super bloated or full or anything like that. So it's like finding those and then also like eating more throughout the day as opposed to like a huge massive meal, especially if you need to get like 3,000 calories. Like if you're trying to like get 1,000+ calories in a meal, like it's a lot more difficult. But if like I find just like spacing it out every few hours, even if you got to set an alarm or something or have a bunch of snacks, is like just spacing it out throughout the day has helped me a lot in the past.
Yeah, and we're talking about like, not going out and eating tons of fast food type of thing. You don't have to eat totally different. One way you can do is just add more of what you're already doing. If you eat half a pound for dinner, eat a whole pound of meat, or add like a glass of milk to a meal. Or one thing I like to do is add bone broth to rice. Add to the protein. You can add some more rice to that, and all those tips you gave were fantastic. It Sometimes I think we overthink things, right? We're like, oh, this is going to be so hard to do. The other thing I was going to think about too is making sure that you have plenty of time throughout the day. If you eat early enough, if you wait till like 10, 11, that you're going to have a hard time getting all that in. Spread that out, eat it earlier, and just eat it often, and have, like you said, have fun with it. But don't overcomplicate it.
Hmm. No, I think that's such a good point. It's like your diet really shouldn't change dramatically based on whether you're in a fat loss phase or a reverse diet phase. It's like you're eating basically the same thing, it's just slightly different quantities, especially when we're making those slow, steady adjustments like 100, 200 calories every couple weeks. It's like that's just like a little extra beef or a little extra rice or just something. So it's like it really should not make that big of a difference at all. You're basically eating the exact same things. It's just the quantities are adjusting as you go. So makes it super simple and straightforward.
Yeah. Okay, so let's wrap it up. Main points. Basically, bulking or reverse dieting, we want to build more muscle, we want to build more strength. And it's going to take some time. We're talking about like 4 to 8 months. It's going to be a long process, which is a good thing. And I think if you do this the correct way, then you'll feel pretty good. And it'll be a fun part of your journey, and it should be a part of your journey. And then thinking about also kind of a side note, like you said, planning it out, having goals of like when would be a good time for me to do this, when would be a good time to be in maintenance, when would be a good time to cut, and back that up and kind of have a plan throughout the year. And it also gives you something to look forward to.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. So again, if you guys want help with this, best place is going to be in our Skool group. We got all kinds of guides in there, nutrition guides, recipes for whether you're bulking or cutting. So yeah, feel free to join us in there and appreciate you guys tuning in. We will catch you on the next one.